Hi, thanks for joining us, and we're going to discuss the different types of surface weather observations in this video. Generally, there are two different types of weather observations. There are either METARs, which are your aviation weather routine reports. These come out every hour. Or there are Speci reports, which are special weather observations, and they come out as needed. Typically, your routine weather reports, your hourly reports, come out usually anywhere from 15 minutes to the top of the hour all the way up to the top of the hour. So in other words, from 45 minutes after the hour all the way up to the top of the hour. And those are typically made by ATSC machines or also by human weather observers. Whereas if it is an AWAS machine and it's hooked up to the national grid, in other words, it has a data link coming out of it, then AWAS machines will report weather observations every 20 minutes. Here's an example of an ASOS machine in Abilene, Texas. You can see this one has observations every 52 minutes after the hour. From the top all the way down, as you go down, time is increasing. And you can see the first observation is made at 23:52 on the 13th day. After that, it switches over to the 14th day at 00:52, and then 01:52, 02:52. So you can see that this observation is made at 52 minutes after the hour by the ASOS machine. The observation is considered to be the observation for the top of the hour. In other words, the 23:52 Zulu observation would also be considered the 0Z observation, whereas the 00:52 Zulu observation is the 1Z, and so on and so forth, the 2Z, 3Z, and 4Z observations. Now, if there is a AWAS machine and it has a connection to the national data link, then the observations are obtained every 20 minutes. And you have weather information for that airport every 20 minutes. So if you go out to Aviation Weather Center or other places and pull up METARs, you'll see every 20 minutes an observation coming from an AWAS machine. Now, that is considered routine and not special observations. Special observations are something completely different. They're made whenever there is a need to be made, whenever special criteria have been observed. And these are unscheduled. They come out anytime there is significant weather. So what is significant weather? What are the special criteria? We'll look at those right now. The special criteria, there's a whole list of them. And for aviation purposes, you probably only need to know about 2 or 3 different criteria. But we'll go through all of them. Number one, if there's an aircraft accident at the airport, then a special observation will be made. That special observation is to document the weather at the time of the accident, and it is not transmitted over the national data network. In other words, it stays at the local airport, and they'll use that. The NTSB will use that to discuss or talk about the accident. Also, if there's volcanic eruptions, it's very important for aircraft to know that there is volcanic ash in the area, so that will be a special observation. And then also when there's significant weather changes. We're going to go through these different weather changes, and you'll need to know 2 different criteria. So here's one of the criteria that you need to know, and that deals with visibility. When the visibility decreases to less than any of these values or increases to equal or exceed any of these values, then a special observation needs to be made. And the numbers are pretty easy to remember. If you can count, you can remember them. 3, 2, 1. And then the other one is the lowest instrument approach procedure minimums. Typically, for most airports that have an ILS or instrument landing system, then that's a half mile. So most places you just need to know 3, 2, 1 and 1/2 mile. So if the visibility drops below 3 miles, below 2, below 1, or below a half mile, special observations need to be made. And when they go up to equal or exceed 1/2, 1, 2, or 3, special observations need to be made. The other criteria that you need to know is ceiling. And this is important when the ceiling goes up or down below certain values, then a special observation will be made. So the criteria is for ceilings, if the ceiling forms or dissipates below these altitudes, or if it decreases to less than one of these values, or increases to exceed or equal any of these values, then a special observation needs to be made. And those numbers are a little bit tricky to remember: 3,000, 1,500, 1,000, 500, and the lowest instrument approach procedure minimum for that airport. Typically, if it has an instrument approach procedure that has an ILS, an instrument landing system, then that will be 200 feet. So these are numbers you need to know. If the ceiling drops below 3,000 feet, a special observation is made. If it drops below 1,500, a special observation is made, and so on and so forth. If it goes up to equal 500 feet, if it goes up to 500 feet or higher, then an observation or a special observation is made. If it goes above 1,000, above 1,500, so on and so forth. And we'll go through some examples so that you guys can practice this. Other criteria for special observations include a wind shift, and there is a number of degrees limitation. If it exceeds that, then over a certain period of time, then a special observation needs to be made. If the runway visual range is varying by a certain amount or changes by a certain amount, then a special observation needs to be made. And then also, if there's a tornado at the airport, at the ASOS machine, or a funnel cloud or a water spout, then special observations need to be made. Other criteria include the beginning and ending of thunderstorms, squalls, also the beginning and ending of certain types of precipitation such as hail, freezing precipitation like freezing rain or freezing drizzle, and also ice pellets require the issuance of a special observation. And then the last two are if there's a significant change in the sky condition, and then also there are other miscellaneous criteria for specials. The ones you need to know, though, are the ceiling and visibility. The reason for that is because certain types of flight rules apply when the ceiling goes above certain values or below certain values, and also the same with visibility. Here's an example of Bismarck a few years ago when the weather was changing significantly and they had to issue special observations. So here is Bismarck. The visibility is, as you can see, the time starts at the top and increases as you go down. So the newer observations are down at the bottom and the older ones are up top. So we'll follow the sequence of time from the top to the bottom. And you can see that the visibility at the top at 2132 Zulu is 1 1/2 mile. So we're starting out with 1 1/2 mile, and the ceiling is broken at 1,200. The next time is 2152, so 2152 looks like that would be a routine observation, an hourly report. But you do see that the ceiling dropped down to 3/4 of, or the visibility dropped down to 3/4 of a mile. And with that, that means it went below 1 mile and a special observation needed to be made. So the hourly is also considered the special observation for that time. And you see that the broken ceiling went from 1,200 to 1,000. So it didn't go below 1,000, and that means a special observation is not needed for the ceiling, but definitely for the visibility because it dropped below 1 mile. The next observation at 2204 is a special observation. It's not made between 45 minutes to the top of the hour. So what caused that special observation? Let's see. The visibility went from 3/4 of a mile up to 1 mile. So it went up to and equaled 1 mile, which means a special observation needed to be made for visibility. But if you look at the ceiling went from 1,000 down to 800 feet. It went below 1,000. So special observation need to be made because of visibility and also the ceiling. The next time at 2221 Zulu, You see the visibility went up to 1 1/4 miles, so it didn't exceed 2 or 3. It just went up to 1 1/4. But notice the ceiling, it went from 800 broken to overcast at 3,400. That's the ceiling. So it went above 1,000, went above 1,500, went above 3,000. So a special observation needed to be made because of the ceiling, but not because of the visibility. And you can see, how these changes, and we'll do this also, we'll have some exercises that I'll give to you that you can practice with special observations. We'll do that in class. One thing that you need to note, though, is you may get comfortable seeing METAR or Speci in front of each report. Depending upon the location that you pull your weather information from, you may not see that Speci or that METAR, the actual words typed in front of the location. In this case, you can see you don't have METAR or Speci, you just have the location, KBIS, KFAR, KJMS. How do you know if it's a special observation or if it's a routine? Look at the time. Bismarck, it's the 13th day at 12:28. Since that didn't fall in the 15 minutes before the hour, that is a special observation. Fargo is a routine. The observation was made at 11:53, and that falls between 45 minutes all the way to the top of the hour. Jamestown also is a routine observation. So is Garrison at KN60. It was made at 12:52. And the same thing with Grand Forks. Grand Forks observations are always made, the routine observations are always made 53 minutes before the hour. That's all I have for you for this little block of material. I hope you enjoyed it.